Hey everybody, it's Scott again for Art of the Genre, and we're doing part 2 of B4's The Lost City. This is going to take you through basically pages 13 to 20. And again, before I even start this, I want to say that this is not an adventure. This is an epic campaign setting. I'm not kidding. It is amazing. I know why this now goes for $40+ used on eBay. I saw a shrink wrap one, I think it was like 170 bucks. But anyway, it's a great primer that you could use in a lot of different ways for a lot of different levels and have an entire campaign here if you wanted to dedicate yourself to doing so. I want to make that clear again. But anyway, let's get into the meat of this. And I'll show you this once again. This is Before the Lost City. We're going to go through 13 to 20 of these rooms. It really only takes place, I'm grabbing my notes here, over 2 tiers. This is tier 4 and tier 5 of a 5-step pyramid. So you're going to conclude this adventure with the end of this tier, if you choose to, because this is what Tom Moldvay, the designer, did. He gives you options afterwards, which are absolutely amazing, that we'll get into in part 3. But part 2, we're going to do tier 4 and tier 5. It's a pretty easy run through. When I'm looking at my notes here, you get dropped into a jester's chamber, which is on a ramp from the 3rd tier. And this will initially start to show you that you're in the court of King Alexander. And King Alexander is the one who was dedicated to building the underground chambers and the pyramid and so forth and so on. And it was during his reign that Zargon was released. So that was the height of Synodician society. So this pyramid is dedicated to him and his court. This entire level revolves around that. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about here is if you've ever gone online and you've seen or you've watched the History Channel or something like that, and you might have seen ancient tombs or the vaults within, let's say, the Great Pyramid in Giza, you will note that a lot of people that go inside of it, or if you're watching it, you will almost feel an oppressive weight of all this stone, this cut stone that's around you and pushing in on you. And a lot of people say that when they go inside the Great Pyramid. This would be something to continue to push your players. You could even have, make them make checks, wisdom checks or something like that, just to not get freaked out being in this area, because it's different from a cave. It's different from a cavern that might be a little bit more open. It's just always going to be this oppressive-ness. And one of the other things that you get into when you're talking about pyramids is that a lot of times they're seen as nexuses of magical energy or energy collectors. This is not something that's touched in here, but it's a really cool concept that you could put into it, to have there be a flow or an ebb of magical energy inside the pyramid itself, where there could be zones of null magic, where your magic is bleeding away or takes less, or you don't get anything extra from it. But there could also be areas within it where you feel the magic ebb. One of the things that the Magi of Usamagaris might know are exactly where these points are. And there might be a nexus point in this level or in the next level that a wizard or even a cleric could feel more connected to the magical energies and therefore get their spells rejuvenated, which would be really good, especially in 1st edition, where you're talking about a 1st or 2nd level character who only has 1 or 2 spells. Not like 5th edition where you always have a spell to use, but it could be very important here where you get your spells recharged. And that would be another great reason to have contacts within the faction of Usamagaris. And I'm going to go into some other reasons here that it would be great to have allies within these factions as well. Anyway, one of the things that I'm looking at is that this is obviously going to be undead territory. Most of the things in here you're going to find are going to be undead, which makes perfect sense because it's a tomb. The only weirdness that I found in here is one of the rooms has giant white apes in it. I don't know what it takes per day for an ape to eat to keep it functional, but giant white apes probably need a lot. I don't know what they're eating. Maybe some giant weevils, which I think are in here. I don't know. Maybe they're eating Synodicians for all I know. But there are on the random monster table generated, you could get some ants, some beetles, and some giant rats. So maybe they're eating those. But anyway, that's just a weird room. Don't know why they're here. But they're just stuck in this one big chamber for some reason. And there are a few magic items that you're going to find on this level. Primarily, I think there's a suit of plate +1 and a +2 sword, which is probably King Alexander's. And then some magic wands and so forth. But the really big thing that you're going to find here is going to be treasure in monetary value. There's going to be gold pieces, platinum pieces, etc. And there's going to be so much of it that your encumbrance is going to be off the chart. You're not going to be able to carry it. So you're going to be ditching stuff left and right if you need to, if you're trying to maintain a certain level of treasure until you're just maxed. And then treasure for the rest of the adventure would not matter because you can't get any more, which would be unfortunate. This is another prime reason to have made allies of the factions, because you could have faction henchmen or faction allies, or it can drop or go up in the pyramid and deliver some of these goods back and forth into a hidey hole or a place that the faction will hold for you so you can keep the wealth. That's a huge bonus for having faction alliances here. And it's something to keep in mind to the players, because rather than being harassed by the factions who might still be hunting you if you fought them on those 2 levels, they could be helping you get treasure and keep it, which would be so important for the rest of this adventure. The other big thing that we're talking about here is the main tomb of King Alexander himself. And there's a long hall that goes into it. And there's a fantastic picture on the back of this module done by Harry Quinn. You can take a look at this. Absolutely love this picture. I've always been intrigued by it. This is the swinging blade trap. There are a couple of these on this hull, and you can see here there's like a cleaved skull, which is just fantastic. And the thing that always really I loved and freaked me out about this picture was not only is it a blade trap that people are trying to get away from, but you're talking about there's like a slime, a green slime that's coming off of the cords. That's not in this adventure, but man, is it a great ad by the artist if you wanted to make green slime on these cords. So not only are you getting slashed, but then you're getting splashed by green slime. Bad. That is just awesome. I absolutely love it, and I would use it every time that somebody gets one of these traps, unless they can obviously disable them beforehand. There's a series of traps that go into the main area of the king, the queen, and so forth. And obviously you'd have to get through those. If you're converting it, you can. But one thing on conversion, if you're talking about this particular adventure, Goodman Games has done this in their 5th edition series. So you can get this module in 5th edition, and it's probably not $40. But nevertheless, so you would have all the trap DCs and stuff in that as well. So keep that in mind. Goodman Games has that. But after that, there is only one way into the 5th level. This looks like, to me, it's listed as a floor entry point, but it's a ladder. So it's going to be a covered floor space, which means it's secret as far as I could tell. So from that standpoint, this is the 3rd thing that's great about having alliances within the factions, because you assume that the factions are going to be going from level 2 of the pyramid, or tier 2, all the way down into the subsurface. And because of that, they need to know the easiest ways to get in and out. And if there's only one way, they need to know that way. So if you're looking to go down, you're having them as an ally or a guide, or told you where these particular places are, this one place is, would be a huge factor to having faction alliances, again, because they're going to tell you where this plate is that you can take off, where you can get this ladder, and then from the ladder you can go down with. So that is a huge, another huge bonus. Then you go to tier 5. Tier 5 is a really, really cool level. It's obviously the biggest one. There's a lot of open space in it as well, in the dungeon, the way it's set up in the maps. But the biggest part about it is there's a curse that lies in here between 2 brothers. One is Demetrius. He was a priest of Usomargaris. And then there is Darius, his brother, who was a priest of Zargon. Both of them were 6th level clerics. And Demetrius had been assassinated by his brother Darius, but the curse has kept his body intact. And you're going to find it in one of the first few rooms that you come into after getting to this level. And there'll be a saving throw that needs to be made by anyone coming close to the body or touching it. Or the spirit kind of magic jars you and takes over and has that character. Its modus operandi is then to go and kill Darius at any costs. So that's something that's interesting. You could take that character and make it an NPC, or You could just let the character, you could slip them a note, which would be cool, and say, these are you've been taken over. You might have slight memories of your character, but right now the overpowering influence is by Demetrius' spirit, who is guiding you to try to kill his brother, the priest of Zargon, Darius. There's also a huge main entry room in here, which is great because it has an awesome history in mosaics that Moldvay actually goes through every single one of them. There must be 20 of them, which takes you basically from the Stone Age in Synodecia all the way up until the fall of Synodecia and the building of this pyramid. And that's really cool. It's epic. You can use it with like torchlight, and they can see these one by one as the DM. As a DM, you kind of tell this and show Synodecia and what it was, so they can kind of have a better feel of a sadness for the Syndicians themselves, or even the brotherhoods that they have in their factions. So that's a really, really cool thing. And again, storytelling, Moldvay, excellent work here. Then there's a really cool room. It's the chapel, and the room isn't necessarily cool, but it's cool because it's got a new monster in it introduced to the basic groups, which was the werefox. And Jim Holloway did a great picture of a werefox here. I know when I first saw this werefox, I fell in love instantly, and I always enjoyed Holloway's take on females. And I think this werefox is gorgeous. There's a brother and sister werefox here. They're great NPCs, and there are some magic items in the chapel, but they can become allies. And I think that there's a story that actually can play in here, and I will go through it a little bit later, but keep that in mind. Werefox's story, great thread that you can put in here as a DM. There's some other rooms in here. There's an acid room, which is a nice little kind of trap room. And then, of course, there's a room with an owlbear. Why not? Again, he's got no exit strategy. And again, he's pissed. But nevertheless, he's here. I don't know why. They love owlbears. Owlbears love to be in places that they can't get in or out of, but they're there nonetheless. So you've got an owlbear to face. And then finally, you get to a couple rooms that deal with the Syndicians. For some reason, there's some Syndicians up here in these couple rooms. There's one called a lobby, where they're just like standing around staring at walls through their masks. And then there's another one called the gambling hall, where they're actually gambling in kind of a smoky haze. Why so many Syndicians are up here in this level of the pyramid doing nothing is beyond me, and it's not really explained. But after those rooms is the room of Darius and his hobgoblin guards, who are alerted to your presence because of a pressure plate in the floor much earlier in. But one of the things that I tried to make sense of it is why they are here. So one of the things that I thought was maybe the priesthood of Zargon, or Darius himself, is bringing them up here, inviting them up here to game or gamble in this hazy hall, so he can then take certain members of them with a hold person and use them as sacrifices for Zargon later. And that way, that shows why they're up here. And also they're bringing treasure up here that he can tax and take away for the priesthood of Zargon. Those are reasons that they could have been brought up here, all under the impetus of Darius. And then you can make a really cool wrinkle. And this would be it. The werefoxes that you saw in the chapel, the brother and sister, I would have them be the children of Darius. And Darius himself, although it had 22 hit points in the module, make him a werefox. That makes him harder to kill. It gives him a little wrinkle, and it gives him a connection to those other two werefoxes. And that the reason that the werefoxes are up here that they might not be telling you is obviously that their father is a high priest of Zargon, but because the brother, let's say, had a lover or a girlfriend or something in the city below, who the father disapproved of and took up here into the gambling hall and then sacrificed to Zargon. So he's pissed and he's ready for a little payback. So he's going to help the characters get to his father and therefore take his father out. And that allows you to ally yourself with the other two werefoxes. Maybe they die in the course of it, maybe not, but they're a great ally and they would know things below the surface. It gives them a purpose to be here. It gives a little bit more teeth, or a bite, no pun intended, to Darius when he's here, if he is a werefox. and then it kind of completes your storyline. At the end of this, there is one section where there's a couple of Sindicians that have, I think, rat masks on, and they kind of scurry away from you, and there's a staircase that goes down one level further, but then is bricked off. If you're ending the adventure here, which you could, and just be done with it. But again, you're going to throw away a massive, massive amount of good storyline, because the pyramid itself is 5 steps down, and then it's 5 steps down into the earth. We can call that the upside down if you're into Stranger Things. You can go into the upside down and do 5 more levels down, and then once you're down, you can get into the city of the Synodicians, the massive cave complex, goblins, gnomes, which I would use Snurfneblin, and then you have the ability to do 5 or 6 other campaigns suggested, or adventures at least, suggested by Moldvay at the end of this module. Again, huge, 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 lots of possibilities. So hopefully you've enjoyed this one. Again, so much more to go over in part 3, but part 2 is great to take you through the quote-unquote end of this particular module. Hope you enjoyed it today. Absolutely, absolutely love this adventure again, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching, and please subscribe. It does great things for me here at Art of the Genre. And take a look at our other products on our website as well. We'll talk to you later. Thanks.